Dear students, my name is A. Tirupati, Indira Pedarsi Mahila Degree College Associate Professor. Today, topic is Union Government and Administration. Union Government and Administration. So, these are the very important of the administration activities in the central government. So, the Union Government is a very important play role in the India. Union, its mean is a central. Our India is the unitary state of India. India is the unitary state of India according to Indian Constitution. So it's a mean. So difference of state, different culture, different of the regions are there in India. So because of it is the called as a Union Government Administration. This is the important of the subject of the public administration. The Union Government, British legacy constitutional context of Indian administration. So, the government after 1947 it is a Union Government. Before it is called as a British administration. From the British administration we got a independency or freedom in 1947, 15th August. So that is the main criteria of this British rules and Indian government, how it is possible, how it is developed the administration in the country. So these are the main criteria of the administration. The British government in India introduced as a system of a public administration which was meant to suit the needs and tasks of the mother country and not to the colony. The needs and tasks of the British government can be briefly stated as a maintenance of law and order in the country, B, collection of revenue to meet its expenditure, C, retention of strategic power in the hands of the British civil servants, D, services. So these are the important of the subserviences of administration to the paramount needs the mother country. The present administrative system in India is the shorts of the legacy of British rules under the British. The rule in India, bureaucratic development administration underwent a periodic change before 1714 appointments were made by the Court of Committees by 1765. The term civil servants had come to be used. In the records of the company, the year 1773 provides a landmark in the evolution of the Indian constitutional and administrative system. The Regulating Act of 1773 provided for a distinction between the civil and criminal functions of the company. The Pitt's India Act 1784 provided for a effective parliamentary control over the civil and military administration of the company in India territories. Wherever in independent India, not only have the people of India been elevated to the status of rules, larger goals, development goals, and the goal of creating an egalitarian society have also been set. The change of the goals, objectives of society in independent India call for a corresponding change in the qualities and qualifications in the public servants and appropriate institutional and procedural changes in the country's public administration. The Important features of the British administration system were the executive was not a subordinate and responsible to the legislature. At the provincial level, there were some variations in details. The British government was immune to popular control. The British had no commitments behind maintenance of law and order, collection of taxes, and dispenses of justice. Dispenses of the justice. So the committee as to behind the maintenance of the law and order, collection of taxes, and dispenses of justice, members so were in changes of administrative departments and were appointed by the governor general and were also removable on his sole discretion. There was a vertical unitary government. Impact of the Second World War on administration. There was inflation and on uncertainty in supply of the essential goods like food, grains. Thus, rationing was introduced in the country to regulate the supply and distribution of food grains by the administration. For carrying out the administrational work, it was necessary to expand the administrative activities by the government of British missionary. Recruitment of the personnel necessary for new tasks had to be undertaken at a short notice. No adequate training could be provided to the personnel under the prevailing circumstances. There was a downfall. So there was a downfall in the quality of the personnel. Economy of a shortage, inevitable bred corruption in public administration. For all the above mentioned reasons, the machinery of public administration was in poor health at the time of India's independence. The advent of independence agency, partition, and adoption of a parliament this was the testing time for a public administration, but this was also the time when the cadres of public administration were getting depleted, as most Muslim and European civil servants were resigned, and the civil servants are very motivated of the administration activities in the country. So the resigning and level in blocked the strength of the Indian civil servants, which stood at 1064 in 1945, 932 in early, or 1947 was reduced to 422 after the attainment of independence. The Constitution of India, which came into force on January 26, 1950, incorporates not only the goals and objectives of administration in India, but also the goals objective of administration in India, but also incorporate preventions relating to the administrative setup both at the union level and at the state levels. This was done with a view to having a uniform administrative setup for the entire country. The Indian Constitution creates the office of the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers, and the Controller and Auditor General, and the General of India, Auditor General of India. There are Also provisions relating to the administrative of the union and acquired territories, the administration of a scheduled and tribal areas, distribution of the legislative, executives and financial powers through the three lists: union, state and concurrent. In schedule 7, rights and liabilities of the government and public servants, and for creation of public service commission, the makers of the Indian Constitution followed and reproduced the Government of India Act in 1935 in providing matters of administrative details. This was done not only because the people are accustomed to the detailed provision of that act, but also because the makers had the apprehensions that in the present conditions of the country, the constitution might be perverted unless the form of administration was also including in it. In the two words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, it is the perfectly possible to pervert the constitution without changing the form of administration. Any such surreptitious subvariation of the constitution by the putting details provisions in the constitution itself, so that they might not be encroached the constitution administrative framework. The basic framework of the administration is based on the theory of decentralization of structures and functions, under which autonomy and initiative are vested in the states and local units of government. But it at the same time accepts central planning and directions articulated both through the governmental machinery and the ruling political party, which has enjoyed dominance almost continuously since independence, a dominance both at the central as well as in most of the state leadership in committee to the welfare state concept and integration of the people into a nation. Emphasis is laid on participant administration and on broadening the base of administration, and penetrating of it further into the remote sectors of the committee. It is vital that the officials are committed to innovation and democracy and can facilitate the involvement of the citizens. So these are the main important of the administration activities. Now in the central government, there is the parliament. In the parliament, president and Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. In that Lok Sabha, prime minister and president role and cabinet is important administrative activities in India. Now we have to discuss about the president. At the head of the union executive stands the president of India. The executive power of the union, including the supreme command of defense forces, is vested in him, but the executive power of the union vested in the president must be exercised in accordance with the constitution, and the constitution prescribe that there shall be a council of ministers with the prime minister at the head to head, and advise the president in the exercise of his functions. Article 74, qualifications. In order to be qualified for elections. As a president, a person must A, be a citizen of India, B, have a completed the age of 35 years, C, be qualified for elections as a member of the House of the People, and D, must not hold any office of a profit under the government of India or the government of any state or under any local or any other authorities subject to the control of any of the said governments. Article 58, election of the president of India is a indirectly elected through an electoral college consisting of the electoral members of both the House of Parliament and the elected members of the legislative assembly of the state. The election takes place on the basis of a proportional representation by mean of the single transferable vote system. The voting is done by a sector ballot for ensuring uniformity in the scale of a representation of a different states at the election of the president. The formula used is as follows: population of state plus 100, election members of the state legislative assembly is equal to number of voters which each members of state legislative assembly is entitled to cast. The constitution also says that parity shall also be maintained between the state as a whole the union. This condition is secured by the following formula: total number of votes of all the legislative assemblies, total number of elected members of both houses of parliament is equal to number of votes which is elected members of the parliament is entitled to cast the election of the president of India. Terms of the office: the president hold office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he enters upon his office. However, this term may be cut short if he resign from office before the expiry of 5 years by writing addressed to the vice president, or if he is removed from office through impeachment on grounds of a violation of the constitution. Similarly, his term stands automatically extended behind the expired date if his successor is not elected or does not assume office. Under the constitution, the president is eligible for re-election. Here it may be noted that the constitution of USA imposes a ban on the re-election of the president for more than 2 full terms. Impeachment of this president: the president of India can be removed from his office before the expiry of his normal term through the process of a impeachment. He can be impeached only on grounds of a violation of the constitution. An impeachment is a quasi-judicial procedure in parliament. Either house may prepare the charge of a violation of the constitution before the other house, which shall then either investigate the change itself or cause the change to be investigated. But the charge cannot be prepared by a house unless a resolution containing the proposals is moved after a 14 days notice in writing, signed by not less than 1/4 of the total members of that house, and the resolution is then passed by the majority of not less than two-thirds of the total membership of the House. The President shall have the right to appear and to be represented at such investigation if, as a result of the investigation, a resolution is passed by not less than two-thirds of the total members of the House before which the charge has been prepared, declaring that it sustained. Such resolution shall have the effect of removing the President from his office with effect from the date on which such resolution is passed. Vacancy in the office of the President. If the office of the President falls vacant due to death, resignation, or removal of the President, fresh elections must be held within 6 months of the occurrence of the vacancy. The person elected to fill the vacancy is entitled to hold the office for the full term of 5 years from the date on which he enters upon his office. During the interval between the date of a vacancy and the date when the new president assumes office, the Vice President of India acts as the President. Similarly, if the President is unable to discharge his functions owing to absence, illness, or any other reason, the Vice President discharges his functions until the date on which the President resumes his duties, while the Vice President acts as the President or discharges the functions of President. He enjoys all the powers and immunities of the President and is entitled to such emoluments, allowances and privileges as are enjoyed by the President. It may be noted that if per chance the Vice President is not available to discharge the duties of the President, the Chief Justice of India, and in his absence, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court act as a President of India. So these are the main constitutional of India provides for a parliamentary system of government in which the formal executive power of the Union is vested in the President. The executive power primarily means the execution of the laws enacted by the legislatures. The executive power may, in short, be defined as the power of carrying on the business of a government or the administration of the affairs of the state, expecting functions which are vested by the Constitution in any other authority. The ambit of the executive power has been explained by the Supreme Court as the residue of governmental functions that remain after legislative and judicial functions are taken away. The President of India enjoys vast administrative, legislative, and various other powers. However, the President exercises executive power under various constitutional limitations. The limitations may be briefly mentioned as follows. The Constitution explicitly requires that ministers other than the Prime Minister can be appointed by the President only on the advice of the Prime Minister. According to Article 74(1), the executive power shall be exercised by the President of India in accordance with the advice of the Council of Ministers. Prior to 1976, there was no express provision in the Constitution that the President was bound to act in accordance with the advice tendered by the Council of Ministers. It was judicially established that the President of India was not a real executive but a constitutional head who was bound to act according to the advice of the ministers so long as they commanded the confidence of the powers of the functions. So this is the main variation of the administration activities. The various powers, including within the comprehensive expression, executive power can be classified under the following heads. Administrative powers in the matter of administration. The President of India is more powerful to collecting the administrative activities in the government of India in the matter of a removal of civil servants who are serving under the union and hold office during the president's pleasure. The constitution has provided certain conditions and procedures subject to which only the president's pleasure may be exercised. Article 311 military powers. The supreme commander of the defense forces is vested in the President of India, but the Constitution expressly lays down that the exercise of the power shall be regulated by law. So, diplomatic power, the President represent the nation in international affairs, appoints Indians representatives to other countries, receives diplomatic representatives of other states, and has the power of making a territories and implementing them subject of course to ratification by Parliament. Legislative power, like the Crown of England, the President of India is a component part of the Union Parliament. The legislative power of the President to be exercised according to ministerial advice includes summoning, prorogation of both houses, Parliament, and dissolution of the lower house. The right to address and to send messages to either House of Parliament, either in regard to any pending bill or to any other matter. Nomination of a members of to the houses. The President nominates 12 members to the Council of States from personnel having special knowledge or practical exercise in the field of literature, since art and social services. He is also empowered to nominate not more than 2 members to the House of People from the Anglo-Indian community if he is of opinion that the Anglo-Indian community is not adequately represented in that house. Laying reports, etc., before Parliament, like the budget report of the Auditor General relating to the accounts of the Government of India, recommendations of the finance. Commission reports of the UPSC, the Special Officer for SCs and STs Commission on backward classes, the Special Officer for linguistic minorities, etc. Previously, sanctioning of a legislation relating to formation of new states or the alternation of a boundaries, a money bill, a bill involving expenditures from the consolidated fund of India, a bill affecting taxation in which states are interested or affecting the principles laid down for distributing money to the state, and so on. Assent to legislation and vote. Dissolvency of a state legislation. There is no provision in the Constitution of India for a direct dissolvency of a state legislation by the President, but there is a provision for a dissolvency of such bills as are reserved by the state governor for the assist of the President. The President may also direct the governor to return the bill to the state legislature for a reconsideration. If the legislature again passes the bill by an ordinary majority, the bill shall be presented again to the President for his reconsideration. But if he refuses his assent, again the bill fail. Ordinance making power. The President enjoys the power to legislate by ordinance when Parliament enactment on subject is not possible, and ordinance may relate to any subject in respect of which Parliament has the right to legislate and is subject to the same limitation as legislation by Parliament. Thus, an ordinance cannot contravene the foundational rights any more than any act. The Parliament can make the powers and functions of the President of India. The ordinance must be laid before Parliament when it resembles and shall automatically ceases to have effect at the expiration of 6 weeks from the date of re-assembly, unless disapproved earlier by Parliament. Judicial power. Article 72 of the Constitution of India states that the Presidential shall have the power to grant a pardons, reprieve, respites, or remission of punishment, or to suspend, remit, or commuted the sentence of the any person convicted of any offense. Emergency power. The President has extraordinary powers to deal with emergencies. Is given the power to make a proclamation of an emergency on the ground of threat to the security of India or any fault, therefore by war, extensional aggressions, or armed rebellions. He also has the power to make a proclamation that the government of a state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Example, breakdown of a constitutional machinery. The President is empowered to declare that a situation has arisen whereby the financial stability or credit of India or of any part thereof is threatened. Article 360. Discretionary powers of the President of India. There can be at least 2 situations in which the President may have to take a decision in his discretion, because the advice of the minister may not be available. Such situations arose in 1979 after Morarji Desai's resignation as a Prime Minister. So the President did not invite Jagjivan Rao. He accepted the advice of Charan Singh and dissolved the Lok Sabha. The President took his action in his discretion. There is no mention of the term discretion in the Constitution in connection with the powers of the President. However, eminent constitutional experts like D.D. Bose, N.A. Palakiwala, take off H.M. Sirivai and V.V. Tarkunde are of the opinion that, like the Queen of England, the President of India has a discretion in the appointment of Prime Minister and dissolution of Lok Sabha. In normal times, the President acts according to well-established customs. The Prime Minister and the Union Council of Ministers. So the Prime Minister was a very important man in the country to make the policies. So according to that, we have to discuss about the Prime Minister of India. The Union Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister is the real executive of the country. The President has to exercise all his powers in accordance with the advice tendered by the Council of Ministers. Composition of the Union Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers consists of the Prime Minister and other ministers. The number of ministers is not fixed at various form. Time to time, the Prime Minister and other ministers are appointed by the President. The President has to appoint the leader of the majority party as the Prime Minister. It is in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister that the President appoints other ministers. Following are the four categories of the ministers in the Council of Ministers. One is Cabinet Ministers. Cabinet Ministers are those ministers who hold very important portfolios like defense, home and foreign affairs, etc. They are the highest in highest status, emoluments and powers. It is these ministers who constitute the cabinet, which has been described as a cabinet ministers in the country. So within the wheel, their number varies from time to time, but seldom exceeds 20. Cabinet ministers and senior ministers collectively formulate the policy of the government and are entitled to attend all meetings of the cabinet. Occasionally, senior leaders are included in the cabinet as ministers without portfolio. Ministers of state, they are next in seniority and hold independent charges of a department or a sub-department, generally including in the portfolio of the cabinet ministers. They have no share in the formulation of the governments. Generally, policy and attend cabinet meeting only when specially invited and when affairs of their departments are to be considered. Deputy ministers who are next in rank to ministers of the state do not hold independent charges of any department and perform such functions as the ministers in charge may delegated to them. Parliamentary secretary, they have no independent power or functions. They assist the ministers to whom they are attached in the parliamentary work. They are in fact probationers under the training and may hope to rise to higher ranks of they make good. Thus we can say that whereas the Council of Ministers includes all categories of ministers, Cabinet is only a part of the Council of Ministers and including only some important ministers. The Council of Ministers meet very rarely. Cabinet meets quite frequently. Functions of the cabinet policy formulation. The cabinet is responsible for policy formulation both regards to national and international problems. All policy decisions are taken by consensus and are conveyed by the Prime Minister to the President. Control over administration. The types of control over administration can be broadly divided into two: internal control and external control. Internal controls from part of the administrative machinery and work automatically and spontaneously with the movement of the machinery. They comprise of follow the one: budgetary control, personal management control, O&M system, administrative ethics and professionals standards, leadership, external control work, within the general constitutional machinery. Example, legislative control, executive control, and judicial control. Public control is also a form of external control, legislative powers. All the ministers are members of the parliament and thus they participate in legislation. Most of the bills are introduced in the parliament by the ministers and are always passed by the parliament. Because of the support they enjoy, the bills to be introduced by the ministers are considered by the cabinet and approved. The cabinet may make such changes in the bills as it thinks are necessary. Financial powers, the cabinet is the responsible for all expenses for the government and the source of revenue to financial the expenditures. The annual budget prepared by the finance minister is controlled by the cabinet. So the finance minister to make a bill presentation in the parliament, and here it may be noted that the budget proposals are kept strictly secret and the finance minister take the cabinet into confidence only an hour before the introduction of the budget in parliament. The cabinet cannot make any changes in the budget but in the light of discussion on the budget proposals in the parliament. The cabinet makes alterations. The alteration thus made are subsequently announced by the finance minister. The cabinet is responsible for approving the economic and financial policies and also for taking decision on the reports submitted by the finance commission and the controller and auditor general of India. Power of making appointments. The president enjoys vast powers of appointment high dignitaries of the state. These appointments are in a reality made by the president on the recommendation of the cabinet. The advice of the cabinet is binding on the president, and virtually all the functions of the president are performed by the body. The president may ask the cabinet to reconsider its advice, but only once. The advice given after reconsideration is binding on the president. The cabinet is a corporate body. It not only coordinates the work of various departments but also resolves the interdepartmental disputes. MV Piley calls the cabinet the formulator of a national policies, the highest appointment authority, the arbiter of interdepartmental disputes, and the supreme organ of a coordination in government. Cabinet meeting. The cabinet meeting ordinarily meet once a week and more often if the occasion demands. The prime minister prescribe over its meeting. But in case the prime minister is out of town for some length of a time, a senior minister nominated by the prime minister himself presides over cabinet meetings. After the meeting is over, the cabinet secretary who remains present in its prepares and circulate a summary embodying the decision reached. Cabinet committees to relieve the cabinet of some burden of work. Cabinet committees have been set up in Apollo Swami of the Missionary of Government in 1947 recommended setting of standing committees of a cabinet over defined field with appropriate strengthening of the secretariat and other organs of these committees. These were the instrument to organize coordination on a decentralized basis. The cabinet committees should cover between them all important areas of governmental activity. It is also essential that they meet regularly so that sustained attention is given to the complex problems and the progress of implementing important policies and programs is kept under constant review. The number and names of the cabinet committees do not remain uncharged, but 3 or 4 such committees have existed under all governments in power to the century, namely Political Affairs Committee. It is chaired by the Prime Minister. It is other members, including the Home Minister, the Defense Minister, and the External Affairs Minister. The committee deals with all important matters relating to both internal developments and foreign relations. Economic Affairs Committee. Its members are the Prime Minister, Chairman, Finance Minister, Rural Development Minister, and Industrial Minister. It is the main functions is to direct and coordinate governmental activities in the economic field and generally to regulate the working of the national economy. Next, Committee on Parliamentary Affairs. It is members including Information and Broadcasting Minister, Minister for Labour, Parliamentary Affairs Law Minister, with the Home Minister as its chairman. The committee looks up after the progress of government business in Parliament to secure the smooth passage of a legislation and determine the government's attitude to non-official bills and resolutions coming up before Parliament. Appointment Committee. The member of the Appointment Committee are the Prime Minister, who is also its chairman. The Home Minister and the Minister concerned, it is main function is to take a decision in a respect of Secretariat appointments of the rank of Deputy Secretary and above, Chairman, Managing Directors and General Managers and state-owned public corporations, companies and enterprises including Governor, Head, Reserve Bank. Other appointments which are made by the government or which required the approval of the Government of India and which carry a salary to decide all cases of a disagreement between the Union Public Service Commission and the departmental concerned in regard to any appointment. Five other ad hoc committees have also been set up, out of which 2 deal with the problem of prices. The third Cabinet Committee review the performance of the public undertakings, including export, promotions and import substitution, and also covers denudation of forest and trees. The fifth one deals with the question of a rise in aluminium prices in view of the increased power rates. Prime Minister, the Constitution of India gives formal recognition to the pre-eminent positions which the Prime Minister enjoys in relation to the Council of Ministers. Article 74(1) says there shall be a Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at the head and advise the President in the exercise of his functions. Functions of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the keystone of the cabinet. He controls the entire administration. Unlike the powers of the president, which are in name only. The powers of the Prime Minister are real and vast. The Prime Minister is the central figure in the formation, existence, and termination of the cabinet in Britain. The position of the Prime Minister has been described by Lord Morley as a primos inter pares, first among equals. In theory, all ministers are members of the cabinet, have a equal position, all being advisors of the crown and all being responsible to parliament in the same manner. Nevertheless, the Prime Minister has a free eminence by convention and uses the position of the ministers, and the Prime Minister is similar in India. Thus, the Prime Minister is the leader of the party in majority in the popular house of the legislature. He has the power of selecting the other ministers and is appointing the selected ministers to promise and other ministers, and also advising the president to dismiss any of them individually or required any of them to resign. The allocation of the business among us to the ministers is a functions of the Prime Minister. He is not only the chairman of the cabinet but is also the chairman important. The chairman is important of the. He summons the meeting of the cabinet and presides over them, while the resignation of the other ministers merely creates a vacancy. The resignations. Death of the Prime Minister dissolves the cabinet. The Prime Minister is the link between the President and the cabinet. Through individual ministers have the right of access to the President on matters concerning their own departments and important communications, particularly relating to policy, can be made only through the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is in charges of coordinating the policy of the government and has accordingly a right of supervision over all the departments. In short, the Prime Minister is head of the ruling party, the parliament and the government at the same time. He is a chief advisor to the President and working head of the Union of India. He is the main spokesman of the country in national and international matters. However, the actual position of the Prime Minister depends greatly upon his or her personality and political situations in the country. The General Secretary. The word Secretariat means the Secretary as office. The Secretary, being the principal advisor to the Minister, needs to be equipped with the office to assist him in the performance of his functions. For the purpose of good administration, the Government of India is divided into ministers and departments, which together constitute the Central Secretariat. Role and objectives of the Secretariat: it assists the ministers in the formulation of governmental policies. The ministers are the important to play a role in the central. So it is the departmental secretariat and state relations we have to continue next. Thank you.